Hello, everyone, and welcome to another HBCU Sports exclusive interview. I am Jarrett Hoffman, and the HBCU football season is back, ladies and gentlemen. As you are watching this, it is the night before the MEAC SWAC Challenge, where the reigning and defending SWAC champions and Celebration Bowl champion Florida A&M will make their season debut against the MEAC representative of Norfolk State in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. And here to help me break down the game and taking a look at the Florida A&M side of things is Tallahassee.com reporter Gerald Thomas. Gerald, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule to speak with me and break down the matchup in Florida A&M season going forward.
Yeah, man, it's an honor to be here, man. I can't believe it. Football season is back. This is my third football season covering the Rattlers, so man, I'm excited for it. Starting the season where they ended it at. So it's gonna be an exciting one.
So let's just start off by giving some initial thoughts on Florida A&M entering this season. They had a adventurous off season, to put it lightly. They had, of course, Willie Simmons is now at Duke. You're bringing in James Colsey to be the team's head coach. You have the reigning offensive and defensive player of the year now gone from the team. You're ushering in a new quarterback. We'll get into him a little bit later. And you have a host of players, especially on the defensive end, like Gentle Hunt,
Yeah.
Johnny Chaney, all entering the portal. So you bringing in a new cast of characters on defense. So give me some of your initial thoughts on Florida A&M as they enter the 2024 season, looking to go back to back.
Yeah, I think it's still a very talented team from last year. The good thing about it was that they promoted within and brought Cozy in as the head coach. He's already the assistant head coach and cornerbacks coach. So it was good that they got continuity there, and I think that kind of helped. Those guys that they lost in the portal, those probably were maybe guys that were maybe thinking about entering anyway. And it's also a good look for FAMU because those guys moved up the Power Four teams, FBS teams. So that showed the talent that FAMU has. But they've brought in a lot, like you said, new quarterback Daniel Richardson, who will be getting a start on Saturday, and man, who else? And they got so many transfers, man. I'm still getting used to some of the guys that they got, but of course, Daniel Richardson, the guy on defense that they've really been raving about is Davion Westmoreland. He's a transfer from Kansas, so it's been a very eventful thing. But I mean, what Coach Colsey told me was basically when they lose those guys in the portal, they try to look for guys that can duplicate their productivity. So I think they did a pretty good job hitting the portal. They got one of the strongest recruiting classes in the FCS. So I think they're still going to be a very talented team. I don't. Everybody think that it's going to be a drop off. I mean, it may not be last year's team, but I still think this team right here is going to be very talented.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they were obviously picked to finish second in the SWAC East and behind Alabama State, an emerging team with head coached by Eddie Robinson, who I believe is in his third year
Yeah.
with the team. Did you think that when you saw that, did you think it was a fair preseason pick? Is it because it's usually customary of the defending champion to be picked number one,
Yeah.
because it's the mindset of you. They have to see you were on top the last time we saw you, and until someone else beats you, you are the man. So did you see that as kind of a slight to the team, or what did you think it was fair because of all the changes that happened in the offseason?
I think FAMU deserves the number one ranking. I mean, I know with the shakeup and all that, is you may be unsure about who you want to put in the number one spot. But I think when you don't know, just go with the number one team. When you don't know, just go with the number one team. So I think they deserve the number one ranking. But I also think it's like I think that's gonna be a motivated factor. Because it's like, dang, we just won a championship. What more do we have to prove, to get that number one ranking? So I think that's going to create a showdown for FAMU Alabama State. That might be the most anticipated game in the SWAC this year. So I think that if I was a voter, I would pick FAMU at number one. I understand Alabama State is expected to have a pretty good team, and they're pretty competitive with FAMU, but just FAMU has had better record outputs over the last few years. So I don't know. I think FAMU definitely should have been number one. And on top of that, all the rankings that come out got FAMU in the rankings, and
Hmm.
there's no other SWAC school at HBCU nowhere to be found. So I think FAMU definitely deserved that number one ranking.
Just one more question about the off season, and we'll get into previewing the game. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding Florida A&M, and of course we already talked about them being picked second in the preseason rankings. But in years past, the stigma was, can they get over the hump? Now
Yeah,
that they have gotten over the hump and they're in this season of, well, can they do it again? Is this team good enough?
yeah.
What do you think I mean, I've already kind of said the thing, but what do you think among the team? Where is their mindset at in terms of, obviously they want to repeat, but is there any motivation to shut people up, or do you think it's just let's handle business week
I
by week?
think, to simply put it, I think something that Kelvin Dean, the running back, said. He said last year teams got a championship. This team, the 2024 team, doesn't have a championship. So that's the mindset I think they're going to. I mean, you're going for a repeat, but I think they're looking at it as we did it last year, but we didn't do it this year. So that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Right, right,
Yeah,
and that's a good mindset to have. Not to get that championship hangover. Bring
yeah,
it into the new mindset. I like that. So
yeah,
let's talk about this team here. Obviously the big story going into the game is Daniel Richardson, who was named the QB starter, the QB1 for Week 1. Kind of not shocking if you saw the how the pecking order was, but for those who don't know him, he is a transfer from Central Michigan, Florida Atlantic. Had a tremendous 2021 season, had about 2,600 yards, 24 touchdowns to just the 6 interceptions. Had another 2,000-yard season last year with Florida Atlantic. From your eyes, what have you seen from Daniel Richardson, and what do you believe his ceiling is with this team?
he knows how to run the offense. I give him that. He comes in and play quarterback, and he moves them down the field. And also, like you said, he has FBS experience. It was kind of a the quarterback battle. I mean, you got one quarterback in Junior who was he's been there since 2021, but then you had Daniel Richardson who had the experience over him. So I think that played a very deciding factor in my opinion in the decision making process. So I think Daniel Richardson. Everybody say that he's a short guy and all that, but and people say, oh, we're concerned about if he's going to be able to see with the offensive line. I'm like, FBS offensive linemen are bigger than FAMU's offensive linemen, you know. So he was able to see fine over them. Over them, he was able to throw for 2,500 and 2,000 yards, when he was playing on that level. So he won't have a problem doing this. So I think he'll do a very good job in running the offense. It may take him a little bit of time to get adapted, but I think he'll do pretty well.
And as far as the supporting cast around him, obviously Terrell Jennings is now gone. He's playing for the New England Patriots. Hopefully he makes their 53-man roster, if not the practice squad. Jamarie Sharif is gone. You got Marcus Riley is gone. So he's got an entirely new supporting cast of characters around him. But the one person who is back, two people who are back in the backfield, you have Kelvin Dean and you got Jacques Yant, neither of whom have carried the load of being the full-time starter and getting the production of a starter. So
Yeah.
what do you forecast for those two backs? Do you see either one sticking out over the other, or do you think that it'll be a situation where they share the load a bit?
Yeah, well, Jocko Agent, he's no longer on the team. So they have Bo Somerset. That's the guy that they brought in last year. Is Bo Somerset and Kelvin Dean. And I mean, FAMU usually runs a running back by committee. Even with Terrell Jennison, now he's in the NFL, but he was in the running back by committee. Basically his whole time at FAMU with sharing with Bishop Bonnet and just guys like that. Kelvin Dean last year and Jalen McLeod 2022. So I think that's just something that FAMU does. They're not going to, run a feature back. They're going to have it by committee, and everybody have their different skill sets. So that's going to help. They have I think the backfield it will be very good. Kelvin Dean is a running back that's speedy, that can catch out the backfield. Both Somerset is kind of power and speed. If you can get him out in the open field, and so I think he'll do well. And then on the wide receiver, you got a key returner, Jamari Gassett. He joined the team last season, and I mean he had to sit behind Jamari Sharif and Marcus Riley, but he still had about 25 catches, a little over 300 yards, and a handful of touchdowns. So I think the offensive weaponry would be pretty good, and what helps is the offensive line has a lot of continuity too. All those guys, everybody that's starting has started at FAMU before, except for one transfer that come in. So I think the offense will be pretty solid. I think that offensive line is going to help them get them there too.
Absolutely. So now we got to get into the star of the team, which is the defense. We had some good. You had some very good offensive players. Obviously, Jeremy Musa, who
Yeah,
won the SWAC Offensive Player of the Year, but that defense covered a multitude of sins. Whenever there was some inconsistencies on offense, that defense always found a way to make the game changing play, especially in the Celebration Bowl when we last saw him.
yeah,
Isaiah Major got the interception to seal that game. But
right.
as we said, there's a completely new unit. Isaiah Major is gone now. Johnny Chaney's gone now. Gentle Hunt's gone now. Kendall Bowler is obviously still there. But other than Kendall Bowler, who many of us expect will be one of the top corners or defensive backs in the SWAC, who are some names that we could look for from that defense that could potentially keep that dark cloud defense rolling?
Yeah, the defensive line stack. Um, Allen Smith, who was a guy that played last year. One of the first guys I mentioned, y'all, was called Davion Westmoreland, who was playing on that defensive end. James Ash, Cam Donald, a transfer from Kennesaw State. And I feel like I'm forgetting people, and if they watch it, they're gonna be like, man, he forgot me. But that just goes to show how many guys that they have. You got Kendall Bowler on the outside, Gardner playing the corner spot. DBs are solid. Linebackers, you got Eric Horn, a guy who's been since 2022 and been waiting his turn. Played on the FBS level at Iowa State and been at FAMU the past 2 seasons, trying to get into that, get some reps at linebacker. And now he's one of the guys that's playing linebacker. And then you got the transfer coming in, Jerome Nichols from Michigan. He's going for a repeat. He won the national championship at Michigan. Now he's trying to win one at FAMU. So I think the defense is going to be pretty solid. I know it's under new leadership with Milton Patterson. But Coach Patterson, he's been there since 2021. So he's developed a lot of guys. So I think I think the Dolphin Kyle defense will end up being one of the top units in the nation again.
So I was reading your preview of the game, and one of your predictions, your bold predictions, you said that the defense is going to get 3 turnovers in the game.
Yeah.
So it obviously Norfolk State. We'll get more into Norfolk State in a second, but the biggest story out of Norfolk State is we heard that their starter Otto Coons has been suspended for the first 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that this defense could go out fast, or do you think that this is a situation where this is spread out throughout the game? When do you forecast that these turnovers will
These
come?
turnovers happen. I'll say I'll say third quarter. I think they're gonna have a I'll say a very big third quarter. I'm gonna say in a very big third quarter that may decide the game. Might be close. First game jitter, so it might be close in the first half. But I think third quarter is when FAMU is really gonna try to run away with that thing. So yeah. So and Jalen Daniels, he got a very tall task for his first D1 start, playing against one of the best units in the nation. So I'm gonna say 3 turnovers. Three turnovers.
Yeah, so they're obviously facing a Norfolk State team that didn't exactly have the best season last year. Had finished with a 3-8 record. We're about 1-4 in MEAC competition. But if you watched them last year, they were a team that know how to hang around. They gave Morgan State a good test. They gave Howard, the reigning MEAC champions, a good test. So, what chances do you believe of Norfolk State potentially pulling off an upset? And if they do, and if they are able to pull off an upset, how could it happen?
If Norfolk State pull off an upset, it will have to be a mistake field game by FAMU. That's the only way. They got to force them to make mistakes if they want to, force them to turn the ball over. It got to it got to be a situation where FAMU is beating itself. That's how Norfolk State can come out and pull it off. And I know they're trying to turn that program around. I watched the MEAC SWAC press conference over the summer, and Coach Oldham sounded like he was, ready to get this thing rolling. So, if they're able to pull off an upset, that'll be a very good start, knocking off the defending HBCU champions.
And who, if there are any players that you know of from Norfolk State that you believe could be a threat to FAMU, that somebody that FAMU has to watch out for? If they don't watch out for this player, they could potentially go crazy in this game. Who is that one player that you believe Norfolk State has that could potentially have a good game for them?
Yeah, I'd say they got a very good linebacker, AJ Richardson. He actually was on. I might have put him on my HBCU All American ballot. Just looking at his numbers and things. So they got a few guys on the defense. The names kind of escaped me a little bit, but I know the AJ Richardson name. I know he's a pretty big player over at Norfolk State. So. Fan, you might want to do a little bit of running away from him, and not sending too many people up the middle, sending them receivers on them crossing routes, because they might run into AJ Richardson if they ain't careful.
All right. So now we got the big question here. Who wins tomorrow? What's the final score? Just let's just leave it at that. Who wins tomorrow? What's the final score?
FAMU wins 23-7. FAMU beats Norfolk 23-7 tomorrow.
Is this a get out quick kind of thing, or get it over quick and painless, or do they got to work for it?
It's gonna be close in the first half, but I think it's gonna I think it's gonna separate. I think it's gonna separate once the second half come around. I think it's gonna be a little slow. Like I said, first game jitters, but I think when the second half rolling around, I think FAMU gonna get rocking and rolling, and get some turnovers, and that'll be all she wrote.
All right. Now the final question, the real question, what people want to know: how does FAMU's season end up? What is their final record? Are they SWAC champions, and are they back in the Celebration Bowl?
Yeah, so this what I did. I predicted the season. Maybe a couple weeks ago. I got FAMU going 9-3. I got them going 9-3. Still winning the SWAC, still making it to the Celebration Bowl. I got FAMU. Their ceiling is 10-2. That's their ceiling, 10-2. Their floor is 8-4. So I think they're going to win between 8 and 10 games, basically. If I had to go with my gut, I'll say 9-3. But it's a possible they can win 10 games too. So, but if they go 8-4, they may live in a world where they have to fight for a SWAC championship spot. They may have to travel for the SWAC championship this year. If they go 10-2, they comfortable. If they go 9-3, maybe not as comfortable, but pretty comfortable. So I'm gonna say 9-3, but it can very easily be 10-2.
Man, in a SWAC, that's kind of, there's a lot of questions going around. A 9-3, 10-2, even an 8-4 season, that would be
Yep.
very impressive with an entirely new unit with uh, a lot of questions going around the SWAC. And I I, I would hope that that goes well for them. That would be a great story for James Colsey, who, obviously there was a lot going around with the coaching search in Florida and that they've
Mhm.
gone through. So that would be absolutely great for them. But I I'm just excited to get the season started. As you guys are watching this, it'll probably either be in a couple of hours or it'll probably be tomorrow that the game is happening. But I'm just looking forward to watching it go down. But thank you so much, Gerald, for your time. If you can, just let everyone know that where they can find you, or your social media platforms, or where they can find all your work.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. My name is 3PG, the number three, the letter P, the letter E, the letter A, the letter T, the letter G, the letter E, the letter E. I think I spelled it right. If I ain't spelled it right, y'all figured it out. But yeah, that's where you can find me. I put all my work on there, and I look forward to the support, man. I appreciate you for having me on, man. It's time for it's football time, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time and previewing the game with us. But thank you, everybody, for watching. If you can, please like and subscribe and follow us at all of our social media platforms at A Real HBCU Sports on Facebook, at HBCU Sports on Twitter, on at HBCU_sports on Instagram, and come to HBCUsports.com for all the latest news in HBCU sports. Until next time, see you guys.
Peace out.